Don't cry when you hear the truth behind Idris Elba's calm smile. People only saw the strong man on screen, the one who walked through every scene with steady steps. But his real life never moved that smoothly. Fame rose fast, but the pain behind it grew even faster. One moment, he was rising. The next, he was fighting to keep himself together. Before the bright lights, there were broken chapters he never wanted the world to read. A marriage that fell apart. Another love story that could not survive the pressure. Days when he worked non-stop just to avoid the weight of his own thoughts. Nights when the noise around him felt louder than any role he ever played. And while the world cheered for him, he was still facing the old wounds that came from being judged, pushed aside, and told he did not belong. These scars never left him, even when success did. His story is not a straight line. It jumps between highs and lows, wins and losses, strength and fear. And the part you're about to hear is the one he kept most hidden. Stay with us, because what comes next finally reveals what he carried alone for years. A childhood of fear and survival. Idris Akuna Elba was born on September 6, 1972, in Hackney, East London, a neighborhood alive with constant motion, its streets full of chatter, busyness, and sometimes danger. From the very beginning, life demanded resilience. His father, Winston, had left Sierra Leone to provide a better life, taking on grueling factory jobs that demanded long hours, heavy labor, and an unrelenting pace. Money was always tight, but Winston worked relentlessly, hoping to give his family opportunities he had never known. Idris's mother, Eve, came from Ghana, juggling clerical work while trying to keep the household together. The strain was visible. Bills stacked up, groceries ran low, and tension often filled the small home. Young Idris quickly realized that life did not play fair. He learned, sometimes painfully, that love and effort were not always enough to shield you from hardship. School offered no relief. His darker skin and African heritage made him a target for bullying, and the world outside his home often reflected harsh truths he could not escape. Teachers sometimes mispronounced his name or ignored his questions as if he were invisible. Classmates mocked his accent, his clothes, even the food he brought from home. Everyday interactions carried risks. A simple attempt to join a soccer game could be met with exclusion or ridicule. While other children worried about homework or grades, Idris had to navigate a world that constantly reminded him he didn't belong. It was a survival lesson in its own right, learning how to protect himself, stand his ground, and keep walking even when the path was hostile. Yet amid the struggle, Idris discovered fleeting havens of escape. Music became a lifeline. The first time he touched a turntable, he felt a small sense of control, a chance to create a rhythm in a world that often felt chaotic. Drama offered another refuge. By the age of 11, he had discovered school plays, a tiny universe where he could vanish into someone else's life, pretending to be someone strong, brave, or in control. Each role allowed him to step outside himself, even if just for a few hours. By 14, he began DJing at parties. What started as fun quickly became a tool for survival, a way to earn money, gain independence, and carve out spaces where he could feel safe and respected. Every performance, every set, every note he mixed became a quiet rebellion against a world that tried to keep him small. These moments weren't just hobbies, they were lifelines, patches of freedom in an otherwise restrictive life. Even as Idris found these small victories, the broader world remained unyielding. Television and film offered almost no roles for black actors. When he tried to audition, he heard words that would echo in his mind for years. Not the right fit, too street, too different. Doors closed silently, opportunities vanished, and hope sometimes flickered. But Idris refused to surrender to despair. He understood that the world would not hand him success freely. He would have to fight for it, step by step, with every ounce of courage he had. Choosing to fight, Idris invested deeply in himself. He enrolled in drama school, where he learned not just technique, but discipline, patience, and the art of understanding human emotion. He balanced this with odd jobs, from working in clubs to DJing late nights, taking whatever work came his way to survive while pursuing a dream that seemed almost impossible. Every rejection fueled him, sharpened his focus, and steeled his spirit. The streets of Hackney had already taught him endurance. The invisible wounds of racism had sharpened his mind and built a quiet resilience. By the time he reached adulthood, Idris faced a crossroads: fade quietly into the background, a life of unnoticed potential, or take a risk so great it could change everything. He chose the latter. He poured energy into auditions, honed his accent and performance skills, and never allowed rejection to define him. He cultivated patience, knowing that the journey ahead would be long, unpredictable, and often lonely. Each small step, each minor success, reinforced a simple truth: survival alone was not enough. He needed to fight, to push, to demand his place in a world determined to overlook him. This period of Idris's life, fraught with struggle, pain, and perseverance, shaped him in ways that would define his career and character. Every insult, every closed door, every quiet moment of doubt became fuel. Every note he spun, every character he embodied, every performance he gave was rooted in survival, resilience, and a refusal to be diminished. By the time he stepped fully into adulthood, Idris was ready not just to exist in the world, but to fight, to shine, and to show the world that even someone overlooked, underestimated, and burdened by hardship could rise to remarkable heights. In Hackney, among the noise, the fear, and the struggle, a young boy learned that pain could become purpose, that rejection could become determination, and that every small victory mattered. Idris Acuna Elba was no longer just surviving. He was preparing to conquer a world that had long tried to ignore him. Hollywood doors slammed shut. Idris's first steps into acting were far from glamorous. At 19, he made the bold decision to leave the limited security of small jobs and pursue acting full-time. It was a choice that felt thrilling and terrifying at the same time. London's entertainment industry, however, proved unwelcoming. Every audition, every meeting, seemed to end with polite refusals. Casting directors would often comment on his accent, his appearance, or his background, not the depth of his talent. Every door that closed was a stark reminder that the world rarely rewards potential without compromise. Small television roles came sporadically. Appearances on shows like Bramwell or Absolutely Fabulous brought minor recognition but little income. The fame he dreamed of remained distant, almost teasingly so, always just beyond reach. Even as he worked these roles, the financial pressure never eased. Idris often slept on friends' couches, moving from one temporary shelter to another, surviving on the irregular money earned from late-night DJing gigs. These performances, however, became more than just a way to pay rent. They became a form of emotional release, a place where he could exert control in a world that otherwise seemed determined to ignore him. Every penny earned went back into survival, rent, food, and the occasional acting class that promised, however faintly, to improve his chances. Each rejection cut deep, leaving invisible scars. In interviews later, Idris would reflect on days when he felt invisible, as though no one saw him, as though the system was intentionally designed to overlook his talent. It wasn't just the loss of opportunity, it was the daily reminder that the world was indifferent, that merit alone was never enough. Every no whispered a harsh truth. Being skilled was not the same as being accepted. Doors slammed shut with a finality that left him questioning not just his career, but himself. Yet, in the middle of this uncertainty, Idris made a bold choice that would change everything. He decided to move to New York, leaving behind familiar streets, friends, and a modest support system, armed only with a suitcase and a few $100s. The city was vast, noisy, and indifferent, Yet it offered a possibility that London had not. New York's streets were unforgiving, filled with both opportunity and danger. He navigated them carefully, learning quickly how to survive in an environment where even a small mistake could cost him a role, a connection, or his very footing. Opportunities slowly began to appear. Small television roles and auditions for shows like Law and Order and The Wire provided glimmers of hope. Still, Hollywood had its biases, as Idris would come to understand in painful detail. Typecasting was constant. Time and again, he was offered roles defined not by the depth of his talent, but by the color of his skin or the way he looked. Criminals, gangsters, streetwise characters, these parts dominated the options presented to him. No matter how skilled he was, Hollywood seemed determined to fit him into a narrow box, overlooking the full breadth of his abilities. Even as recognition grew, the struggle remained internal. Every rejection left a mark deeper than the last, a reminder that success in Hollywood was never simply about talent. Nights were long, often filled with doubt, loneliness, and uncertainty about the future. Friends became more than companions. They were confidants, allies who shared in his anxieties and celebrated small victories. DJing remained a lifeline, a place where he could lose himself, recharge, and reclaim a sense of control. Acting, though the ultimate goal, was both a dream and a crucible, demanding endurance, courage, and an emotional resilience few could understand. This period of struggle shaped Idris in ways that fame alone could never teach. It built patience, toughness, and the ability to endure silent suffering. Each obstacle strengthened his resolve, and each minor success reinforced his belief in the power of persistence. The city, the auditions, the rejections, they all became a kind of training ground, preparing him for the life he would eventually lead. Fame, he learned, would demand more than talent. It would demand a willingness to withstand disappointment, to move forward even when the world seemed indifferent, and to find purpose in the small victories along the way. Looking back, these years of hardship were not just obstacles, they were essential chapters in Idris's story. They taught him that survival alone was insufficient, that courage was measured not by applause, but by the quiet determination to keep going when no one was watching. In a world that constantly tried to define him by what he lacked, Idris learned to define himself by what he could give: his craft, his energy, and his relentless pursuit of excellence. Each rejection, each closed door, each lonely night became a foundation on which he could build a career that would one day defy expectations and shatter stereotypes. By the time he stepped fully into the Hollywood spotlight, Idris was no longer just a young man seeking work. He was a survivor, a fighter, and an artist whose depth of experience informed every role he took on. The struggle, the pain, and the countless setbacks had forged a resilience few could match. Hollywood doors may have slammed shut again and again, but they never broke him. Instead, they became the force that propelled him forward, shaping not just his career, but his character, his voice, and the extraordinary life that would follow. The rise that came with a price. Everything changed for Idris when he was cast as Stringer Bell in HBO's The Wire in 2002. This role was more than just another acting job. It was a turning point, the door that finally cracked open after years of struggle, rejection, and near-invisible work. Yet even this breakthrough came with its own battles. Initially, HBO executives doubted him. A British actor playing a Baltimore drug lord, they questioned his ability to capture the essence of American streets. To succeed, Idris immersed himself completely. He perfected an American accent so precise that no viewer would detect the difference. He studied Baltimore's neighborhoods, watched street interactions, and even lived elements of the character off-camera. Every gesture, every pause, every tone had to be authentic. The effort was exhausting, yet he understood this was more than a role. It was a chance to rewrite his story. When The Wire aired, it changed everything. Audiences and critics alike praised him for his intelligence, subtlety, and depth. Suddenly, he wasn't just a struggling actor from Hackney. He was a star, admired for talent that transcended borders. But the fame that brought him recognition also revealed bitter ironies. Off-screen, Idris confronted misidentification and harassment. Police stops became unnervingly frequent. Strangers would make assumptions about him based on his appearance alone, projecting stereotypes that no awards or critical acclaim could erase. The very performance that liberated his career did not protect him from the systemic prejudice that shadowed his daily life. Hollywood soon opened its doors to him, but the road remained uneven. Films like American Gangster, Rock'n'Rolla, Thor, and eventually The Suicide Squad elevated his career to global heights. Box office numbers climbed, red carpets welcomed him, and awards arrived in recognition of his craft. Yet with each step forward, Idris carried invisible burdens. Many roles offered to him still reinforced stereotypes. He found himself walking a narrow path between opportunity and typecasting, a constant reminder that the world saw him through predefined lenses. Each character he embodied demanded intense emotional labor. He poured fragments of himself into every performance, often leaving little of his personal energy to replenish. The fame that many envy came at a steep personal cost. Nights blurred into working marathons, with little time for rest or recovery. Sleep was sacrificed to meet filming demands or travel schedules. Emotional exhaustion became a silent companion. The wealth, accolades, and global recognition painted a picture of triumph, but behind the glamour was a man navigating complex challenges alone. Success, Idris learned, had a price far beyond what the public could see or imagine. Fatherhood added another layer of complexity. His children were a source of joy, yet his presence in their lives was often limited by relentless work commitments. He grappled with guilt and longing, knowing that while his career flourished, precious personal moments were slipping away. Therapy became a necessity, a lifeline to navigate the internal storms that even fame could not calm. It was a space where he could confront exhaustion, pressure, and the lingering impact of years spent proving himself to a world that was slow to accept him. Through all of this, Idris's journey revealed a paradox. He was admired for his strength, talent, and resilience, yet the man behind the accolades carried unseen weight. Every red carpet smile masked nights of doubt. Every interview celebrating success hid the relentless effort, emotional sacrifice, and endurance required to maintain it. The price of rising to the top was clear: a life of relentless determination, personal sacrifice, and the courage to keep going despite silent suffering. Idris Elba's story reminds us that the spotlight often conceals more than it illuminates. While audiences see the triumphs, the glamour, and the fame, the private costs remain hidden, an invisible ledger of struggles, emotional labor, and moments lost to the demands of a career built on extraordinary perseverance. Success, for him, was never free. It demanded endurance beyond measure, sacrifice beyond comfort, and an ability to navigate the world's prejudices while striving to remain true to himself. Hidden battles with racism and industry pressure. Despite Idris Elba's growing global recognition and critical acclaim, the challenges he faced behind the camera were relentless. Even as he walked red carpets and appeared on magazine covers, the industry and society constantly reminded him of invisible boundaries. He was labeled too street for high-profile roles like James Bond, a phrase that carried layers of prejudice and limitation. Every casting call felt like an audition not just for talent, but for acceptability within Hollywood's narrow, often unspoken definitions. His identity was scrutinized, his choices questioned, and his very presence in certain spaces considered controversial simply because he did not fit the industry's preconceived molds. Media scrutiny and social commentary compounded the pressure. Innocent remarks in interviews were twisted into controversies. Social media, with its instantaneous judgment, amplified minor statements into headline fodder. Every post, every tweet, and every appearance became a potential flashpoint. Idris had to carefully consider the ripple effects of his words, knowing that a single misinterpreted comment could spark waves of criticism, despite his reputation for professionalism and thoughtfulness. These moments were exhausting, creating a constant need for vigilance and self-protection. Even within his craft, he faced the subtle, insidious challenges of typecasting and comparison. Casting directors and critics often compared him to other black actors, measuring his talent against peers rather than recognizing his unique skills. Opportunities were sometimes limited, not by lack of talent, but by the persistent biases of a predominantly white Hollywood that struggled to expand its definitions of heroism, villainy, and complexity. Roles that might have been open to him were instead filtered through lenses of race and expectation, leaving him to navigate a maze of systemic barriers that were invisible to most audiences. The psychological toll of these pressures was profound. Microaggressions, subtle dismissals, and the constant need to prove himself accumulated quietly, away from the cameras. Behind closed doors, Idris experienced frustration, doubt, and emotional exhaustion, all while maintaining a composed, confident public image. Awards and acclaim masked the weight he carried. Fans saw the glamour, not the internal negotiations, the careful management of appearances, or the persistent emotional vigilance required to survive in such a scrutinizing environment. Through it all, Idris developed a strategy for survival. Talent alone was never enough. He learned to navigate bias strategically, to control his public narrative while maintaining personal integrity, and to protect his emotional and mental health in a world that often demanded perfection and conformity simultaneously. These hidden battles shaped him as much as any role he played on screen. They forged resilience, patience, and a steadfast determination to succeed, not only as an actor, but as a man determined to define his own story in a world that often tried to confine him. In many ways, the acclaim Idris received was double-edged, a symbol of achievement and a constant reminder of the challenges he had yet to overcome. For every award or standing ovation, there remained a silent ledger of battles fought in shadow battles against prejudice, expectation, and the relentless pressures of an industry that could be as unforgiving as the streets of his youth. Marriage failures and emotional collapse. Idris Elba's personal life often mirrored the chaos and intensity of his professional world. The challenges he faced on screen and on stage seemed to follow him home, infiltrating spaces that were meant to be private and safe. His first marriage to Hannah Kim Nurgard carried hope, love, and dreams, but it also bore the weight of financial strain and career instability. As his career demanded long hours, international travel, and relentless commitment, the intimacy and patience required to nurture a marriage were often absent. Differences that might have seemed minor in ordinary circumstances became magnified, and communication broke down under the pressure. Eventually, after years of trying to reconcile their lives and ambitions, the marriage ended, leaving Idris to grapple not only with heartbreak, but with the guilt and self-reflection that follow the dissolution of a partnership. His second marriage, to Sonia Nicole Hamlin, was even more fleeting. It collapsed within weeks, a stark reminder of how Hollywood pressures can infiltrate personal relationships. The glitz, the expectations, and the constant scrutiny of public life clashed with the need for private stability and shared understanding. Lifestyle differences, contrasting priorities, and the relentless demands of the entertainment industry contributed to the breakdown. Behind the carefully curated images of success and glamour that fans saw, Idris was navigating profound loneliness, disappointment, and the sense that personal happiness was always just out of reach. Fatherhood added another layer of responsibility, and emotional complexity. Idris's love for his children was deep and unwavering, yet the demands of work frequently pulled him away from moments he wanted to share. Tours, filming schedules, premieres, and production deadlines often collided with family time. The balance between nurturing young lives and sustaining a high-profile career became a delicate and sometimes impossible juggling act. For Idris, missing birthdays, school events, or quiet evenings at home became painful reminders that fame and success came at a personal cost. To cope with these strains, therapy and counseling became essential tools. Idris openly discussed how he leaned on professional guidance to navigate both past traumas and present pressures. He acknowledged that unresolved childhood experiences, professional setbacks, and repeated personal disappointments created emotional burdens he could not ignore. Therapy allowed him to process grief, stress, and lingering fears, providing a structured space to untangle the complex web of personal and professional expectations that weighed on him. By 2023, Idris revealed that he often used work as a coping mechanism. Acting, producing, and DJing became forms of emotional anesthesia, a way to channel pain, stress, and unresolved feelings into creative expression. Long nights on set, extended travel, and intense rehearsal schedules masked the internal turbulence he felt. Meals were skipped, sleep was irregular, and adrenaline became a constant companion. While the public marveled at his energy, charm, and seeming invincibility, the private reality was one of exhaustion and emotional vulnerability. This reliance on work as a shield, while temporarily effective, could not prevent the eventual collapse, both emotional and physical, that came from carrying too much alone for too long. The path toward stability involved therapy, reflection, and the pursuit of new creative projects. Idris embraced personal growth by confronting the emotional fallout of failed relationships and the pressures of fame. Each counseling session, each self-reflective moment, and each new project provided small steps toward regaining balance. He learned that endurance was not just a professional skill, but a deeply personal one, requiring acknowledgement of limits, acceptance of vulnerability, and the courage to seek help. Despite the turbulence, Idris's journey reflects resilience and the pursuit of equilibrium. Marriage failures, emotional collapse, and the pressures of public life shaped him, leaving scars but also instilling profound lessons. His story reminds us that even the most seemingly unshakable figures carry hidden struggles, and that survival is not merely about success, but about facing, processing, and ultimately transforming personal pain into growth. Behind the public persona, Idris continues to navigate the delicate terrain of love, family, and emotional well-being, demonstrating that the cost of fame often extends far beyond the spotlight. The tragic news that broke fans. The latest revelation about Idris Elba left fans around the world stunned. Despite a life filled with accolades, fame, and financial success, Idris has battled deep emotional struggles that remained largely hidden from the public eye. Behind the confident smile and commanding presence lies functional depression, chronic emotional exhaustion, and the unrelenting pressures of a demanding industry. The very world that celebrates him for talent and charisma has, in many ways, contributed to the weight he carries. Even as he continues to inspire through his work, the truth is sobering. Awards, box office hits, and global recognition cannot erase the silent suffering that fame often hides. Long hours on set, constant public scrutiny, and societal expectations have created invisible wounds. Idris has openly admitted that success does not make pain disappear, it only shifts the challenges. What the public sees as a triumphant career masks a daily struggle for balance, mental clarity, and personal well-being. This revelation has cast his achievements in a new light. Fans are confronted with a paradox: admiration for a man who has reached extraordinary heights, and empathy for the emotional toll that journey has taken. Idris's story reminds everyone that celebrity does not equate to immunity from hardship. The man who plays heroes on screen is, off-screen, navigating very human battles that few ever witness. His transparency about these issues serves as both a warning and a lesson. Success is never a guarantee of happiness, and mental health struggles can affect anyone, regardless of fame or fortune. Today, Idris is more intentional about his life. He focuses on balance, family, and selective creative projects that nourish rather than drain him. He speaks openly about mental health, using his platform to normalize conversations around emotional struggle, especially for men in the public eye who are often discouraged from showing vulnerability. His honesty provides comfort to fans who may themselves be silently battling, showing that even the strongest figures need support, care, and moments of reflection. Ultimately, Idris Elba's journey is a cautionary tale and a human story that transcends celebrity. It reveals the hidden cost of ambition, the fragility beneath strength, and the courage it takes to confront one's inner battles. For fans, it is a moment of reflection, a reminder to celebrate achievements while acknowledging the unseen struggles that shape the person behind the fame. Idris Elba's story is not just about fame or fortune. It is about a man navigating a world that often refuses to see him fully a man, balancing the demands of Hollywood, family, race, and mental health, all while trying to remain true to himself. The tragic news is a reminder that strength is not always visible. Success does not erase struggle. Behind every red carpet, every award, every headline, there can be hidden battles that only those who endure know. Now, Idris is reclaiming his life on his own terms, finding balance, focusing on family, exploring new ventures, and speaking openly about mental health. His journey is far from over, and his courage inspires millions. If you were moved by Idris's story, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more emotional, real-life stories that reveal what truly happens behind the spotlight. And remember, sometimes the greatest battles are the ones we cannot see. Stay with us, because the world has many more untold stories waiting to inspire, shock, and move you.